Okay, Bob has asked, what is an educational philosophy and why is it important to teachers? Well, good question. An educational philosophy is a set of beliefs and values that guide our thinking around teaching and learning, and ultimately they shape how we perceive certain ideologies in our profession. As teachers, we act as major agents of socialization in children's lives, which means we can either reproduce existing societal norms or serve as models for social justice and transformation. And educational philosophy is important because it guides us in creating learning environments that are not only effective, but also equitable and inclusive. I hope that answered your question, Bob. Okay, Dave has asked, what is your educational philosophy, why did you choose teaching, and what do you aim to achieve in your career? That is a very loaded question, but I love it. Personally, my educational philosophy is centered around social justice, inclusion, and equity. Throughout this course, I've developed an understanding of how categories of difference, such as culture, socioeconomic status, gender, and identity, can have detrimental impacts on a child's educational experiences. Schools should be an environment where all students feel included, valued, heard, and respected. But because schools are such influential places where meanings are produced and shared, I feel obligated to ensure the right meanings are circulated and that transformative texts are shared. I chose teaching because I want to create an inclusive classroom where all students are provided equal opportunities to succeed, and where diversity is not just acknowledged but genuinely valued. Love this question from Kevin. He has asked, who inspired your educational philosophy and why? Well, I actually have two philosophers who inspired me, Bell Hooks and Nell Noddings. Bell Hooks was a highly influential and successful philosopher, author, and educator whose commitment to social justice and transformative education continues to shape teaching practices worldwide following her passing in 2021. Bell Hooks is renowned for her pedagogy of teaching to transgress, which highlights the importance of testing boundaries and challenging existing stereotypes to encourage critical thinking and promote transformative change. Her educational philosophy, A Pedagogy of Hope, highlights if you haven't read it, you have to read it, highlights the importance of inclusion and equity and reinforces the idea that all students deserve access to a fair, supportive, and empowering education. Bell Hooks' endeavour for social justice has influenced my educational philosophy because it's grounded in teaching with respect and a willingness to challenge societal norms, ensuring that students are supported as individuals and are free from discrimination. Philosophies of Nell Noddings acknowledge how, as major agents of socialization in students' lives, teachers play an influential role in establishing a student's ethical self and their growing responses to our diverse society. Noddings largely focuses on care within schools, but she particularly emphasizes ethical care, which is defined as a state of being in relation characterized by receptivity, relatedness, and engrossment. Sorry, I don't know why I'm stuttering so much. Research shows that by adopting a pedagogy of care in the classroom, teachers model the ethical values they hope their students will embody, if that makes sense. As a pre-service teacher, I am increasingly aware that schools circulate meanings that influence the beliefs of their students and their values and attitudes they ultimately develop. I value Noddings' philosophies because they emphasize fostering genuine interpersonal relationships with students to create inclusive, respectful, and socially just learning environments. Ultimately, her work reinforces my belief that meanings matter and that education has the power to change them. Okay, Gru has asked, are there any official educational policies or frameworks that relate to diversity, inclusion, and justice that have influenced your educational philosophy? Great question. Look, if an Australian teacher told me they didn't know some policies and strategies related to diversity, inclusion, and justice, I'd probably just laugh at them because there are a lot. Personally, the most important framework that shaped my educational philosophy is the Australian Professional Standards for Teachers, particularly Standards 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 6.1, and 7.3. Focus areas 1.3 and 1.4 strongly resonate with me as they emphasize the importance of understanding and responding to students from diverse cultural, linguistic, religious, and socioeconomic backgrounds. These standards strengthen my belief that teachers have a responsibility to create inclusive and equitable learning environments that support every child. Additionally, the Queensland Teachers Code of Ethics highlights the importance of integrity, dignity, respect, justice, responsibility, and care in the classroom. And Australia's inclusive education policy further stresses the rights of every student to full access and participation in education, regardless of any discriminatory factors. Collectively, these frameworks have strengthened my belief that, as teachers, it is essential to continually advocate for social justice, inclusion, and equity within the classroom. Stuart has asked, what kind of teacher do you aspire to be, and what does inclusion look like in your future classroom? Well, after engaging with this course and exploring its concepts, philosophies, and frameworks, I have laid out the groundwork for my educational philosophy and established some of the core principles of the teacher I aspire to be. I strongly believe that education should be a source of freedom and discovery for all students, and that they should be encouraged to develop their own ideologies without succumbing to societal norms. I see the purpose of education as working towards social transformation and justice while celebrating the diversity of each individual and acknowledging the multicultural society we live in. To promote social justice within the educational system, I aim to align my philosophy with Ken Robinson's view that effective education systems must recognise and value diversity by fostering inclusive and equitable learning opportunities.